It's 10 man and we have quorum whenever you're ready to begin.
Okay. Yeah, let's get started. I'm a little discombobulated. I didn't actually open up the packet, so give me just a second to get that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, first thing I'm sure is the meeting minutes. So any conversation about the meeting minutes or anything, any questions about that?
Nope.
Trying to buy time, people. Help me. Okay, got it. Yeah, great. So let's do let's do the roll call. I'm just so flustered by Ethan working that it's just completely thrown off my day here. So we'll get going here. But if we could do a little bit of a roll call, that'd be wonderful. So maybe Hannah, if you want to help us with people there in the room.
You have I can do it from here. All right, I'm just gonna go around the room and then I'll look online.
Great, thank you.
Todd Blanton, Jennifer,
Here.
Kevin,
Here.
John,
Here.
Tiffany,
Here.
Rowley,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Hannah, I'm here. Jeremy.
Here.
Stacy. Here. Michael,
Here.
Colin.
Here.
Holly, Dolly.
I'm here, I think.
Ethan,
Present.
Matt,
Here.
and Michelle. Here.
Great, thank you. And then on to the minutes. Any discussion or conversation about the minutes, or can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ethan. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, so all in favor? I think there's only one or two people left, but yeah, great, thank you. Next, Colin, you're going to take us through the finance report.
Sure. So, so the finance report for June is in there next. It has, this finishes out our FY24 year. Overall, our budget was at 88% expended over across all the categories. We were at 92% last year. Our admin was at 78%. That compares to 100% in the prior year. Our adult expenditures were at 69% expended through 100 compared to 100% in the prior year. Dislocated worker was 68% compared to 44% in the prior year. And our youth was at 80%, and we spent 100% of that in the prior year. Also, our youth work experience our work experience requirement was covered for last year, finishing up in June. So we had a little bit of carryover, which helps us with our FY25 budget. So, anybody have any questions about this? There's the chart there at the top that kind of shows our trend. We started picking up a little bit extra speed here at the end between April, May, and June. But then obviously the first half of the year we were very slow, and looks like we're going to be picking up speed here in July too.
I know you don't get the money from the state until like October, is that right? I mean,
Yes,
are we good with the carryover?
We did, yeah, we're in good shape, and we also received some funds of dislocated worker and adult already for the PY grants that come in July, and then our youth funds are in as well, which our youth funds were about 260,000 more than what we got last year for youth. And of course, our dislocated worker and adult, they basically took all of that last year. So we only got 24,000 last year in adult and like 300,000 dislocated worker. It's like 326 this year in adult and like 500,000 of dislocated worker that we received. So we've got plenty to run us until October.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
So has the fiscal year been closed completely?
It's the initial close is done, but we won't have like an official close till audit is complete, and that'll be in the fall. So we start field work for the audit around October 21st is actually the first date for our audit. And so obviously, really the only thing that's probably going to be impacted is indirect. So anything that's like ad wide, we consider indirect, and that's what would change for the grants. So those are just little penny adjustments, but for the most part, yes, it is closed.
Okay. All right. Any open invoices?
Any open
Yes.
invoices? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
the May and the June invoices for Equus are open. The May invoice was accepted today. The state's sending us the funds here in the next day or two. And Michael, did you want anything to add on that?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. So obviously, we first had to wait for our transfer to be approved. So we had to have funds from desiccated worker moved over to adult. So we had that submitted, I think, in June. Is that correct? I'm trying to look at the date here. So
That's
we had
right.
that in June, and then didn't get that approved till August, basically. So then when we submitted our May draw, we actually did have some holdup. It's actually due to we had the monitoring adjustments from 2022. So basically, those grants are closed out. They said that we overpaid or underpaid travel from 2022, and so basically they had to figure out what grants to put them in because the grants that actually applied to are closed now. So they had to run up the chain basically to approve and do an applicable credit just to move the funds so we could make those draws. So it took so long.
That
on
was
May,
not a
and that
large
just approved
amount
today.
on the travel, right? That
No,
was,
I mean we're talking $6.61 for one.
yeah.
But they literally we couldn't draw that because they had to again move it up the chain to get approval for applicable credit just to move funds again because the question costs were from grants 2 years ago, so there were no active grants to apply those to, so they had to move funds, put money back in that to draw that out.
Mm-hmm.
So our delay in open invoices is an allotment issue from the state to the ad, correct?
That one was, yes.
Okay.
And just to muddy the waters even further, looking at it, I just sent an email for clarification because some of the costs that because we actually didn't draw the state is saying we didn't draw enough workforce funds. We booked some to non-grant, and they're saying that we didn't book enough workforce funds. And actually going back through again, I'm arguing that we did it correctly. So anyways, we just went ahead and drew the funds. I can fix it later, but we haven't heard an official word on that yet. But the draw was approved for May, so we can move forward with June.
Yep. And just to be clear, I've got that June draw almost ready to go to get Michael's signature this afternoon. That'll go out, and we'll start seeing if there's anything that needs to be adjusted on their end, and hopefully have some good news very soon on that. So.
And then something
I
else
think the thing that's concerning to me about all of that, and I understand what you're saying, and I understand what happened, but when Matt, John, and myself ask you if there's any issues, that's when we need to be alerted, not 3 months later. Please keep us in the loop.
Okay.
I don't want to get blindsided again.
Sure.
And I will say I work with Secretary Johnson at the Finance Cabinet a lot here. So, I mean, I'm happy to dual hat and ask about labor funds as well as defense funds. So,
okay.
In case you guys ever need an assist.
Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. And if you all also, just to stay on the topic of the finance reports, we've got the grant balances at the end of June 2024. That's at the very end of that. Just want to make you all aware of where we stood at the end of June on our balances. On the far right-hand side, you can see what's left and available. So.
And just to make sure I'm on the same page, this is still on the same sheet that you're talking about?
So if you flip to the very last page of the finance report for June, there's a report that at the top says current grant balances. And you can see it lists 5 different grants, and at the top we're looking at youth grants, and then at the bottom we've got adult and the dislocated worker grants that are still active. So I'll show it to you. It's this page right here.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're talking about carryover. You can see where we stood on that front right there.
Jennifer and Todd, is Equus voiced any concern about us being 90 days out?
No, not at this point, but they do keep a very close eye on it, and whenever it gets over 90, I typically get on weekly calls with them. But I will say that, we do have and Michael's very aware of this, and he's okay with it, but we have a couple of June closeouts that'll be coming in. One is just for a regular June closeout. We always have one of those, just for providers that hadn't invoiced us yet when we submitted our original one. And then we have typically a June or a closeout for performance around September, but we always work with Michael and he's aware of that. So we should be good on our end right now. Thank you.
So what is going to be the delta between what you're presenting to us now and what we'll get in, is it the 26th that we're all together with the Leos?
Yeah. So at that next meeting, we'll have the June report that we're just going through now, and then also add the July report. And then at that point, I'll also have the August. So we'll have several to go through. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
What is going to change? I mean, so that this closes out the year. For the July report, you should have all of your invoices in. Is that correct? I mean, all the things
Yes.
we should be able to close the year and not have any sort of open balances, even if they are small. Is that
Yes.
all right?
So as Jennifer said too, just for a point of note, like we've been communicating, and the like you said, the stuff that comes in late that has to be submitted and drawn by September 30 state regs. So anything for the fiscal year close has to be done by September 30. And again, Jennifer's aware of that, so that'll be reflected on the updated June of the new invoices, basically.
So just to go ahead.
Sorry, Dolly. Let me close out. So if I'm looking at that first page with the bar chart and everything else, I think one of the things that I'm maybe not seeing then is there's an actual and then there's a forecast. I mean, the forecast, of course, has been a bigger number, but that idea that if we still have things that we don't know exactly about that we're forecasting, it'd be good to kind of see this, because this these charts right now represent that you've spent it and we're closed. Right. But it sounds like, I mean, they may all be small amounts, but it sounds like there's a lot of variables out there, which just probably sounds worse than they are. But just given our history, it'd be good to kind of have that locked down, to have another stack, maybe, on that actual, to say this is how much is left that's coming.
Yeah. And I was going to add too, I think I used to see this, but I'd like to go back to having that reported on there when Equus has, let me turn my camera back on, sorry. When Equus has requested an invoice, and when we've, that we've requested that drawdown. I'd like to see those dates back on there.
Yeah, I'll stick that at the bottom of these reports. So on the next one, you'll see May, June, July, and let's see, so September, we might have August on there as well. We'll see.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's important to make sure we're keeping our contractual obligations and not getting into time issues. And if there is a time issue, that we're clearly talking to the vendor about why, and the state, and drawing funds and what that is. Just for transparency is probably best.
All right. Anything else you need to call out for this?
Not for me.
Michelle, I always rely on you. Not to put you on the spot, but any questions you want to ask?
I don't have any additional ones.
Yeah, I guess I need help understanding. I assume those are going to be large number of invoices totals. And I guess that my fear is I keep hearing we're good, but are we really good? I mean, it's obvious we have 3 or 4 invoices that aren't paid.
I can speak to that, Dolly. Those invoices are gonna be very small, so that very last one is just a closeout for performance. And we may or may not even hit that, so when Hannah, and Kevin and them monitor our April through June, if we meet that performance, then that's a payout, but it's a very small number. And then our closeout invoice is a very small number, so it's not gonna be material.
All right, thank you.
Last year's closeout invoice was like almost $10,000. Is it going to be any different than that, Jennifer?
No, it should be, that closeout's gonna be a small number, and then the performance would be, if we get that performance, not much more than that.
One thing I would recommend to everybody too is, again, things that hold us up are things like the transfer. I would go ahead and get that transfer in right away. We know that we're going to have that move that we do every single year from dislocated worker to adult. I'd go ahead and get that, in there. And if Jennifer, if you and Equus have numbers that you're seeing, you could project even if you hear about some programs in the future, I'd put that on your calculations to show the state, hey, we're going to need these funds, and get that in right away, because that's the stuff that's going to hold you up and draws. It's things like that just take forever. So the earlier we can get that in, the better. And again, we know that we're going to need that. So I would recommend that to everybody.
Right. Are you taking us through the rest of the pages here between the ones in the middle before we get to the last page? I mean, nothing I was specifically calling out. I'm reading the notes on the bottom of the next page of the budget, which it talks about you were moving around some utility cost.
Oh yeah, Matt, that's been there since even the last one. That was just kind of a description because it was requested by this group to explain, why these little line items within the larger budget, why is there a big difference, So like the phone, computer equipment, we had a 200% difference, 241% difference. So that's explained there with the transfer VR. We just adjusted it for that extra expense, as well as the career center. They raised rents on us, but the overall was at 99% on those fiscal agent costs. It was just within the individual line items there was some differences, and so we tried to explain those in the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we shifted the utility costs from the direct service provider back to the ad, right?
Yes.
And then we essentially paying that bill, and it showed up as a big change, and we were like, well, what's the change? So
yeah,
okay.
every one of those are coming through us now. Yeah.
Okay. When will you have? Just in case there's questions in advance of the Leo meeting, when will you have the July and some of the stuff closed out?
Well, I've been working on the July one this week. I've had some issues getting so when I run these reports, I have a spreadsheet that I use in order to account for all of the Equus July expenses. There's several different spreadsheets that they send to me that I pull the data from that and into my spreadsheet. Well, there's a few categories that have changed on the Equus spreadsheet from between June and July. I don't know if that's something like related to Katie or the new accountant over there. But I'm just trying to figure that out and get it allocated into the spreadsheet correctly. So that's really, I could have that done very soon, maybe even this afternoon. But I've been working on it this week basically. So
Yeah.
if you would
No,
like
I
me to
just wanna
forward
have
that
some
out to
time
this
to-
group,
Yeah.
I can go on ahead and do that.
Well, I mean, I just think it'd be good to have things in enough time if there are questions that we can ask them and kind of get them answered ahead of the showing it to the Leos.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is not a today thing. It's just more, if you can give us a week, ahead of the 26th.
Okay. Well, it is in the works and it should be done this week. It's just that's my one little thing. It's just figuring out how to adjust my cells properly so that it it pulls the data correctly.
And remind me, we've already approved the budget, right, for
Yes.
fiscal year 25, I guess.
Mhm.
And the Leos have already approved that as well. I mean, did they have any comments or questions or challenges?
I don't recall there being any major questions. Do you recall that, Michael, with that? Or
So usually the Leos, they're pretty quiet. They're not as inquisitive as the WIB board typically, so they just kind of go with the flow. But yeah, I don't remember being a lot of questions.
Okay.
nothing that required a major action on our point, that was for sure.
Yeah. Just add a couple $100,000 to legal expense and see what they say.
See if they're paying attention.
Yeah, that's right. It's like yeah. No, that's okay. Well, any other questions or discussion on the these grant balances or the budget or the financial activity? And what are we specifically approving here? Are we or is this just more informational? Do we need to approve the finance report?
Yeah.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the finance report?
Finance report with the changes mentioned by Dolly to add those dates in on invoices and payments.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Great. All right, open discussion, anything for anyone to talk through? Be good to see everybody in a month. In 3 dimensions.
I do know that Hannah sent the updated calendar invite that has the location and everything. I didn't realize till yesterday we had everybody put a hold. Right, we sent out for the hold, but we didn't have the updated location because it'll be there at KCTCS there for sales.
And the address is on it, on the invite.
I was walking through the park, as I got that this morning, and I'll admit that when I glanced at it, I thought it was on the 6th, and I just booked travel yesterday to be gone next week, and I was like, oh no. So 26, yeah, it's blocked in my calendar. It's good. I'll be there. So, all right. Anything else anyone wants to talk through?
Nope. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Holly.
Yeah, great. So thanks everybody, and we'll see everybody in a few weeks.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Matt.
Yes.